The eyes clinked against the glass as Jungkook swilled the amber liquid, watching it dance in the dim glow of the bar's neon lights. The scent of whiskey filled his senses, but it did little to drown out the ache in his chest, the void that had existed ever since he walked out of his life. 6 months. 6 months since he had torn their marriage apart with trembling hands, forcing him to sign those damn papers. 6 months since he had been forced to pretend that she was not his entire world. Jungkook took another slow sip, the warmth of the alcohol burning down his throat. He had everything: money, power, a name that commanded both respect and fear, and yet he sat here drowning himself in liquor, miserable because he didn't have her. The memories were a slow poison creeping in, no matter how much he tried to suppress it. The sound of her voice, the way she used to tuck herself into his arm at night, the way she had smiled through her pain, pretending to be strong when he knew she was breaking. And the worst part, she had left because he thought she was not enough. He had never cared about her here, never wanted her to feel like she was the reason for their struggles. But his mother's cruel words, the whisper of expectation, the suffocating weight of it all had driven Vian into a corner, and she had done the one thing he never thought she would. She chose to leave him. Jungkook slammed his glass down, the sound echoing through the empty VIP lounge. He scrubbed a hand down his face, jaw clenching. He hated her for it, but he hated himself more for letting her go. The world outside was a blur of city lights when Jungkook finally stumbled out of the bar. His body heavy with exhaustion and liquor, he slid into the driver's seat of his black Mercedes, gripping the steering wheel as he exhaled deeply. He should not be driving, he knew that, but he could not stay in that bar either, suffocating in the presence of ghosts. The streets were quiet, the rain tapping lightly against the windshield as he drove through Seoul's empty roads. And then he saw her at a red light, standing on the sidewalk under the glow of a street lamp. Jungkook pressed his grip, tightening on the wheel as his heart slammed against his rib. She looked different, softer, glowing, and then his vision dropped to her belly, the gentle curve beneath her coat. A sight that sent a sharp jolt through his body. No, no, this isn't real. He was hallucinating. That had to be. It was the alcohol, the exhaustion, the weight of his regrets. He had spent months dreaming of her, seeing her in every stranger that passed by. This was no different, and yet the way she smiled as she placed her hand over her belly, the way her lips parted in a soft laugh as she spoke to someone beside her. It was too real. The traffic light turned green. His fingers trembled around the wheel, a cold numbness creeping through his veins as the realization hit him like a wrecking ball. She wasn't a hallucination, she was real, and she was pregnant. Jungkook sucked in a sharp breath, his entire body going rigid. The months of suffering, of emptiness, of believing that she had left him because she could not give him a child. Ryan had been pregnant with his child and she had left him anyway. A hound blared behind him, snapping him out of his frozen state. His foot slammed on the accelerator. His car speeding forward, but his mind was still trapped in the past, drowning in the memories of the day she walked away 6 months ago. Jungkook's in this, her voice had been barely above a whisper, but it had been enough to rip through him like a blade. Jungkook stared at her, his entire body going still. The papers on the table between them felt like a cruel joke. He had refused to sign them before. He had fought, he had begged her to stop, but she had been relentless. You don't mean that? He rapped, his voice thick with disbelief. Ryan, I told you we can adopt, we can. You deserve more, Jungkook. Her lips bubbled, but she forced herself to keep looking at him. You deserve a family, and here I can't give you that. He stepped closer, grabbing her wrist, desperate. I don't care about any of that. She flinched, and it broke something inside him. You will, she whispered, looking away. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but someday when you realize that love isn't enough, you will regret staying with me. Jungkook's chest tightened, his vision blurring. You are wrong. I will never regret. Ryan inhaled shakily, pulling her hand from his grip. I have already filed the paper. The words knocked the breath out of him. His head spun, his heart hammering painfully against his ribs. No, no, you didn't. I did. Her voice broke, and I am leaving today. The silence was deafening. Jungkook felt like he was standing on the edge of a crumbling cliff, watching the only person he had ever loved slip through his fingers. You are making a mistake, he said harshly. Vine's lip trembled. No, I am fixing one, and with that she walked out the door, out of his life, out of their marriage. Present day. Jungkook's knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel. His breath came in uneven pants, his chest rising and falling as he tried to piece everything together. She had been pregnant and she had still chose to leave him. Had she known? Had she found out after the divorce? Or had she known all along and hid it from him? A fresh wave of anger surged through him, colliding with the bone deep ache that never left. His foot slammed on the brake as he pulled over to the side of the road, gripping his head in his hand. 6 months, 6 goddamn months, and she had been carrying his child this entire time. Jungkook's head lifted slowly, his jaw tightening with resolve. If she thought she could keep this from him, if she thought he would ever let her walk away with his child, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. The tires screeched against the wet asphalt as Jungkook's car skidded to a halt in front of the dimly lit cafe. His heart pounded violently, his blood roaring with adrenaline and alcohol-fueled rage. His mind was a storm, a brutal clash of betrayal. Jungkook threw open the car door, stepping out into the cold night. The rain had started to drizzle, misting air, but he didn't care. His eyes were locked on one person, the woman who had ruined him, who had made him believe she was barren, the woman who now carried his child in secret. She stood near the cafe entrance, her coat wrapped tightly around her as she spoke softly to a friend, completely unaware of the storm barreling towards her. Jungkook's fist clenched, his breath ragged as he took long strides toward her. He didn't stop to think, he didn't care that people were watching. His rage burned hotter than reason, and then before she could register his presence, his finger wrapped around her wrist. Vian gasped, weeping around her eyes widening in pure shock. Jungkook, his jaw tightened. You have 2 seconds to explain yourself. Also, help me. I will make you regret every goddamn like you told me. Her friend stepped forward. Excuse me, who are leave? Jungkook rolled without even looking at them. The cold authority in his tone made them hesitate before nodding and stepping away. Vine's lip parted, her body going rigid as she clutched her coat tightly around her. Jungkook, what are you doing here? His dark eyes dropped to her swollen belly and rage flared so hot in his chest that he thought he might explode. His grip on her wrist tightened just enough to make her flinch. I should be asking you that. Vine swallowed, her throat bugging, but she remained silent. Were you ever planning to tell me? His voice was deadly quiet now, lethal. Inertia restrained. Vine's lashes fluttered, her other hand instinctively covering her stomach, as if shielding the child from him. Jungkook, I don't you dare lie to me right now, Vian. His voice broke, the fury spilling over. How long have you known? Her lower lip trembled. Jungkook stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. Since before the divorce, he laughed bitterly, but there was no humor in it. Or did you find out after and decide that I didn't deserve to know? Vian finally snapped out of her daze. I was going to tell you, she burst out, eyes glassy with sunset tear. I only found out after the divorce. Jungkook, I swear, and yet you still didn't tell me. His voice thundered, making her flinch. Vine's breath hissed, her hands clenching. I didn't want to burden you. Jungkook froze, burden. Something inside him snapped. The woman he had worshipped, the woman he had begged to stay. She had walked away with his child, believing that she was a burden. His throat burned with the force of his fury. You didn't want to golden me, he repeated, voice eerily calm. He took another slow step toward her, his eyes dark and unreadable. You didn't want to burden me, but you had no problem tearing my heart out when you left. Wayan shook her head, eyes welling up. Jungkook, I know, he cut her off, his hand shooting up to grip her jaw. Firm but not painful. You made the choice to leave me, Wayan. You made the decision to throw everything away. But this is free and pointed at her belly. This is mine, Wayan's breath caught Jungkook. His finger tightened slightly. You lost the right to walk away again. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't, you did. His voice was cold, cutting through her like a blade. You chose to leave me because you thought you weren't enough, but now you don't get to choose. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Oh, what do you mean? Jungkook next over final. You are coming with me. Her entire body stiffened. What? His hand dropped from her jaw, but his grip on her wrist returned stronger this time. Until you give birth to my child, you will stay with me. His voice was pure still. That is not up for discussion. Wayne's breast stuttered. Jungkook, you cannot just watch me. With that, he pulled her forward, guiding her towards his car. Wayne gasped, struggling. Jungkook, let me go. He didn't. He would not. Not this time. This time she wasn't walking away. She could not because this time he was the one taking her. Wayne's heartbeat pounded in her ears as Jungkook grips on her wrist remained unrelenting. Her face trembled as he pulled her forward, her breath hitching in panic. Jungkook, stop, you are being unreasonable. She grasped, struggling against his hold. His jaw clenched, but he did not slow down. The fury in his steps, the storm in his eyes, she had never seen him like this before. Unreasonable, he let out a humorous laugh. The sound laced with bitterness. You think I am being unreasonable? Vine's face stuttered. Jungkook halted abruptly, turning so fast that she nearly crashed into his chest. His eyes poured into her, darker than the midnight sky above them. Don't act like you didn't already decide this for me, Vian. You had no problem making choices for me when you walked away, but now that I am doing the same, it is suddenly unfair. Her chest tightened. I didn't want to hurt you, Jungkook, but you did. He cut her off, voice sharp as a blade. You broke me, Vian. You left me with nothing, and now his gaze dropped to her swollen belly. You expect me to stand by while you take away the only part of you I have left. Tears welled up in her eyes. I never wanted to touch them. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice thundered, echoing through the empty street. Why am feeling the raw pain in his tone, slashing straight into her soul. I, her voice cracked. Jungkook inhaled deeply, his grip tightening for a brief moment before he exhaled, his control hanging by a thread. Get in the car, Vian. She shook her head. No, his patience snapped. Get in the damn car. Tears spilled over, but she refused to move. You have no right, no right. His laugh was dark. No right to claim my own child. Vian's breath stood her. This was exactly what she had feared. This was why she didn't tell him. Jungkook was the father. He had the right. She had been the one to leave, the one to sign the divorce papers, the one who had willingly severed her ties to him. So now that argument, did she have to keep the baby from him? Jungkook took advantage of her hesitation, yanking the passenger door open and pulling her forward. Jungkook stopped. She shrieked, her hands flying up to push against his chest. You cannot just. But she did not get to finish. In one swift moment, Jungkook scooped her up, his arms strong and unyielding. Vian gasped, her body freezing in shock as he physically placed her inside the car. Jungkook, the door slammed shut. Before she could escape, Vian scrambled, reaching for the handle, only to hear the sharp click of the central rock. Her stomach dropped. She spun towards him just as he slid into the driver's seat, his jaw tight, knuckles wide as he gripped the wheel. You cannot do this, she whispered, her voice shaking. Jungkook exhaled slowly, his gaze locked on the road ahead, his next words were chilling in their finality. Watch me, and with that, the engine roared to life, the car speeding up. Wahin pressed her hand over her belly, panic rising in her throat. She had lost control. and now she was completely at Jungkook's mercy. Jungkook drove recklessly, the tires screeching against the asphalt as he pushed the car to its limits. The city lights blurred past him, the speed making Ryan's heart pound. Jungkook slowed down, she pleaded, clutching her belly protectively, but he didn't. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel, his jaw locked in barely restrained anger. The storm inside him was too fierce, too overwhelming. The moment he had seen her standing there with his child growing inside her, something inside him had snapped. He had lost her once, he wasn't going to lose her again, even if it meant chaining her to him by force. The drive was long, hours passing in tense silence. The roads twisted, leading them far from the city back to a place filled with ghosts of their past, a place where love had once been warm and tangible before it had crumbled into nothing. Ryan realized it too late when Junko finally stopped the car. Her breath caught in her throat. The house, the place where they had lived as husband and wife, the place where they had laughed, fought, and made love under the same roof, tears burned her eyes. Why are we here? Junko didn't answer. Instead, he stepped out, moving around to open her door. Get out, he ordered. Ryan hesitated, but she knew there was no point in arguing. With trembling hands, he stepped out. The familiar scent of rain soaked the earth, filling her senses. The house had not changed. It was exactly as they had left it, frozen in time. She turned to face Jungkook, her voice unsteady. Jungkook cried, but before she could finish, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her inside. The door slammed behind them, locking them away from the world, and in that moment something shifted. Neither of them spoke, neither of them fought. The tension, the anger, the heartbreak, it all melted away, drowned out by the sheer exhaustion of missing each other. Wayne wasn't sure who moved first. One moment they were staring at each other in silence, and the next, Jungkook's hands were on her face, his lips pressing against hers. She didn't push him away, she should have. But for one night, just for one night, she let herself forget. She let herself drown in him. Their clothes hit the floor piece by piece, hands from mouths shout each other out with desperation. And the pain they had carried for 6 months burned into something else entirely, something raw, something familiar, something inevitable. As Jungkook pulled her against him, his lips whispering her name like a broken prayer, Ryan realized no matter how much they hurt each other, they would always find their way back to this moment. Because no matter what she had done, no matter how much she had tried to push him away, Jungkook never let go. Stay tuned.